when we talk about the scales or the way that we actually term that at what vacuum we are measuring, there are different terms which are used. So whenever we talk about a gauge, that means we are talking about an instrument which will basically measure the pressure. Okay, and then there are different kinds of pressure like the absolute pressure, atmospheric pressure, or the vacuum pressure. Okay, and this is what we are going to do it now, trying to understand the scale first. Okay, and then probably we will just shift to the device. So if we just think about scaling the pressure, and we are actually drawing three lines here. Okay, and the bottom line is basically something which we call as the absolute pressure. That means this is a pressure where no molecules exist. Okay, and that is something which we call as the zero line. But when we are surrounded by an atmosphere, there is already a atmospheric pressure which exists, and we have seen in the previous classes that that is nothing but, let's say, 760 millimeter of mercury. Okay, so that's your atmospheric pressure range. And if we measure anything above atmospheric pressure, we are going to use a device. Okay, and that specific instrument we basically call as gauge instruments. Okay, so that basically measures the pressure. And if we measure anything above atmospheric pressure, it's basically gauge pressure. So the device that we usually use will be at atmospheric pressure, and the readings that would be shown would be nothing but zero, right? Because it's at 760 millimeter of mercury. But as we just keep on measuring anything above atmospheric pressure, we use that instrument. On the other hand, if we just want to measure something which is from the absolute scale, that means from the zero line, whatever measurement we are going to do is basically called as the absolute pressure. And if we measure anything below the atmospheric pressure, that is vacuum pressure, and this can be measured either below the atmospheric pressure or above the zero line, both means the same. So this is simple graph should make it clear that what are the different pressures that we are actually talking about. Okay, so let's just look into this absolute pressure right now. So let's look into the definition. So if we talk about absolute pressure, it is basically the pressure measured from absolute vacuum. So if I'm asking you a question on the definition of these pressures, probably these are the definitions that you should take care of. Okay? Gauge pressure, as I said, is the pressure measured with measuring instrument. So anything you measure using an instrument is basically nothing but a gauge pressure measurement. So zero reading is basically considered for atmospheric pressure. Okay, so if you are measuring anything in the atmosphere, you're basically talking about a zero reading there. Okay, so there will be slight changes when we actually go to a different altitude. Okay, and accordingly that instrument may be calibrated. Okay, so this gauge pressure is always measured above the atmospheric pressure. Next, if we talk about vacuum pressure, it is the pressure measured below the atmospheric pressure. Okay, and atmospheric pressure is obviously whatever pressure we have around us, the surrounding atmosphere. That is something which we call as the atmospheric pressure. So this is important, and this might be a 2 to 4 marks question. Okay, depending on how I ask you. Okay, maybe just a simple diagram of understanding the pressure scales. You can just draw this 2 marks. If I ask you some definition, maybe 1 mark each. Okay, we can just consider it that way. Okay, so then having learned about these different kinds of pressure, now we actually want to know how do we measure those pressures. Okay, and these measurement of the pressure, which is actually, let's say, above the atmospheric pressure, can be done using different kinds of gauge. Okay, and there are two kinds of gauge that we are actually going to study. Number one is the Pirani gauge. Okay, and today we are also going to look into something which we call as the Penning gauge. Okay, so before we look into what is the idea behind the Pirani gauge, the construction is very important, and I have already drawn it yesterday. Okay, so let's just have a look at this. Okay, so you see, whenever you want to measure the environment, okay, that means you want to measure what is the pressure in that particular environment. You basically connect that environment to this particular device. Okay, it's not necessary that this will be below atmospheric pressure. In fact, if you are using a gauge, the chances are that this is above atmospheric pressure. So if you have some gas which is actually enclosed in a box, okay, it is actually above atmospheric pressure. So that means it has got higher pressure than the atmosphere, the surrounding atmosphere. Okay, so you want to measure that pressure. So if you want to do that, what you do is you actually connect this device, which basically works on the Wheatstone bridge principle, right? So this is important. We should know that this actually works on the Wheatstone bridge principle. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, maybe I can highlight this. Okay, so Wheatstone bridge principle, right? So this is the first point that is important. Secondly, it basically is a device which just measures pressure. That is quite obvious, but then that is above atmosphere. Okay, and finally, one more working principle is it is based on the principle of thermal conductivity. I'd again suggest you don't write down this point wise. You can always make sentences and write it down in your exam. Okay. Now, if we just look into the construction, what we have is Wheatstone bridge, and in a Wheatstone bridge, we know there are four resistors. So this is one resistor, this is the other resistor. Both of them will have some fixed value, and this will be basically said as the reference tube. So this is the reference tube, okay, and the tube across which the environment is connected is basically called the gauge tube, okay. And both inside the reference tube and the gauge tube, we basically have got some filament, okay. And you know there is a power supply. So the basic logic says that if I'm having a power supply and I'm applying some voltage, these filaments resistance will change, okay. And if we are talking about a Wheatstone bridge principle, we can actually talk about the balancing condition also, okay. But then the problem is, as soon as the molecule inside this environment, it's not that the molecules will come rushing in, okay. It only after you open this up, then only molecules will start interacting there. As soon as it comes and interacts with this filament, there will be a change in resistance of this filament. As soon as the change in resistance is there, okay, we will again adjust the power supply so that the resistance remains the same. So how is the power supply adjusted, or how much power supply is given to maintain the resistance at the same value will give me an idea for indirectly measuring the pressure inside this environment. And that's the logic. Okay. So it's an indirect method, but it's quite an accurate method. Okay. So what happens is the filament that we have, okay, we will actually basically have the filament, and this will actually heat up with the power supply. So that's the first point. Now the heat that gas molecules carry, okay, that's quite logical, depends on the pressure of the environment, okay. So if the pressure is more, the gas molecules will carry more heat, right? So you know this is the system of heat transfer, okay. The heat that the gas molecule carry depend on the pressure of the environment. We need to just understand one simple fact here, that heat basically is transferred from one point to another, okay, and it needs a medium, and that medium will be nothing but the gas molecule, okay. So what happens is, as soon as this gas molecule comes in contact with uh, the filament, okay, there is a change in this environment of the filament, and you know temperature and pressure are more or less connected, right? So that means this will actually indirectly give me an idea of what is the pressure inside the system. So in general, we can say if the pressure is more, the density will definitely be more, okay? And then what happens is the gas molecules will extract more heat from the filament, okay, and cool it faster, okay. So the filament, as soon as we apply some power to it, it will start heating up, okay, and the gas molecule will be inside the chamber. It might have some heat with it, but then if the gas molecule comes in contact with the filament, okay, which is at a higher temperature, let's say, okay, or it's heated up, it will actually try to extract that heat. More gas molecule, it will extract more heat. So if more heat is extracted from this, I need more power supply to be given so that the balancing condition is maintained. Okay. From this, how much power supply is being given, we can actually assume what is the pressure inside the environment. Okay, that's the logic. If the pressure is less, the density is less, and the cooling will be much slower. If the cooling is slower, that means the power supply will be much lesser. Okay. So the current is supplied to maintain the temperature, okay, despite getting reduced due to gas molecules, okay. So the current which is actually given up by the power supply will be actually because of the gas molecules that we have. And this is the idea based on which we have the working of a Pirani gauge, okay. And one final line maybe we can actually write. Okay, the current needed, because we have to conclude this. The current needed, okay, to maintain, okay, the temperature, okay, sorry, the current needed to maintain the temperature measured, okay, or measures, we can say, measures the pressure of gas. So this concluding line is important when you write down in your exam. Indirectly measure the pressure of the gas indirectly in the environment, in the environment. Okay, so this is what you have to write based on Pyramidal. So this can be an easily a descriptive question of about 5 to 6 marks, although it looks very less on this board. But when you draw the diagram, you get 2 marks. Explain the different parts, you get maybe 2 marks more. Okay, the principle you can explain it easily. Okay, and you can write down these additional lines which you understand from here. Okay, and this will fetch you 5 marks easily, 5 to 6 marks. So just write down these points, remember these points, and try to frame it properly for your exam, and then I think this should be enough. Okay.